Okay, so this is the third session of Dreamhammer workshop, public space and people. So today we are more than going through half of the workshop. So far, we have been having, at least on my side, a very positive experience, and we have a number of participants from different parts of the world. And today we have here with us in Ecosistema Urbano another guest. We don't have Susana, which is our local participant, which couldn't make it today, but we have been careful enough to bring someone from Hamar itself, which is not a native but has been living there for a while, and I think she's going to give you a very important, interesting feedback.
Hello.
Or inputs rather feedback. And she's Noah. She's one of the architects.
Hi. Nice to see you all. I started browsing the website with your different propositions, and it's very exciting and interesting for somebody coming from Hamar for the past 3 months to see the different ideas. So I don't know. Should I?
No, well, we're going to go a bit through. I will propose for today's session go a little bit around some of the topics that have come out in the last few days in the posts, and then we will maybe open and give a round about the projects that each one of you are developing. And I would suggest you to use Noah as much as possible as a source of information about the city of Hamar and what's going on, and the perceptions we might have there about how people, local residents, would react to participatory processes and how everything is going. And she can also give you, I mean, every time we talk, even if it's just 5 minutes, which is not the case, exactly. And we find out, or I find out, lots of interesting things that are very relevant for a workshop. So we're here to share, and of course she has lots of things to say too. So what is what are you feeling about your projects? How are you doing with your projects? Do you want to have a round around these first, or any things you want to ask to Noah? So shall we make a little round, and maybe some issues will be raised, the questions you raised to Noah or about your project. So Javier, why don't you start?
Okay, I don't have my students around, as you see. They are in very far away, so I can't track them and make them sit with us. So I offer the option, but I think maybe they have another lecture, or I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the experience we had last week. The students, I think, just to let you know that we are a very small group of students. Only one of these students is from our school. The other two are Serbian students that came from this year's in Erasmus program. So what I found, we started working on the project, and they were very reluctant to start using. They were actually working on plans from the very beginning. We were talking about that. I think my perception is that they felt that they didn't have enough tools to tackle this kind of project from a very different perspective than the perspective than used to. Like when someone asks them to start working on a public space project, they jump into this kind of master plan scale, and they start placing trees, furniture, because I think there's a kind of a fear of this kind of, what should I put here to create all these things that we start talking and we have on the lectures about how to create this participatory process. Or I think, especially in the schools of architecture, we're still far behind in these kind of approaches. We are too conscious about the physical intervention using, like the standard architecture, say, tools. So we spend most of the week trying to break up these ideas by using reference, looking at different projects that we upload some of the reference last week. So I personally, that's my perception of last week work. That we're still far away from the kind of approaches that I think yourself, Andres, and also the Ethel and Paco are suggesting in the workshops. That's it.
But I think sorry, I'm just saying that your students have sent a couple proposals that have been, I like them quite a lot, and I think from my perception, my outsider perception is that what they suggest, which are 3 elements for the public space, 3 kinds of furniture or pieces for the public space, I think they are quite focused on people, and they sort of match the spirit we're talking here. So I think it was very, they have been, quite interesting. It was a tree with some platforms around and some illumination to enhance people to gather around and to be used by night as a meeting point, which I think was an interesting intervention. Then there was something like a kind of a ditch to a pit with a seat around to sit and to mingle, to have some sort of activity. And actually, Noah and me were now just talking about some potential relations between the public space in the square and in the library, and we were thinking about some place to sit and read and make and this would probably be one potential good idea.
And just an anecdote to share with you, one of the results we had during the on-site workshops is that people had to expose their ideas about how to use it just by taking pictures, and it was insisted on the fact that people are going to the public space to watch people and to be watched. And that was very interesting, and actually they were using the existing tree in the square, as like somebody sitting in one side of it and the other one is watching him. And that's just makes me think about your proposal, because also people are shaded by the tree, but they're also like to watch other people, to watch other people. I think that was a funny result, because they just used themselves to expose this idea, and
My perception is that that was the result of the whole few days working, and they were extremely insecure on those ideas. We were discussing the ideas and pushing this. That's very interesting. And trying to express them in a different way, but they show a lot of insecurity during the whole process. So they were trying to go back to the big plan all the time, and we were just hold on, just focus on this, try to focus on how we are going to use it. But it was I think quite unexpected for them to work in this way. That's what I think. The ideas are great. I think.
I think the third idea, which was to make snow furniture with some sort of casts or cardboard casts. So people, I really like that one, because it would be giving people the chance of designing their own furniture, which are ephemeral, but they would last a few weeks or a few days. And snow is something very important. So I think there are 2 issues which I think you might maybe have some. You already mentioned one, which is people live in public space, and of course Christian would add something on that as a native expert. So people would like to expose in the open air, because sun and good weather is something very, very important, very, you know, very...
Sun is a religion, you know.
Okay. So, you know, the places to enjoy both and to interact, even like what she was saying, which is basically to show and to look and to be looked at, which I think is something very associated to leisure, to hedonism, etc. And then the other one is exactly the opposite, to enjoy, and this Scandinavian people are very good at that, to enjoy winter and snow and the light that snow provides and the possibilities that snow provides. So it is something very strange for us. But
you can take the lake, I guess, as the best example of the most flexible space in the city. You know, during the summertime, it is used as a basically like a beach, and you have sand, fake sand, and people sunbathing and going into the water. And in the wintertime, it's usually frozen and used as like a place to cross country or to skate. And well, it's being used really winter and summer. So I think it's an important issue for the square, because I see it now how the days are getting shorter, and of course the temperature dropped every day, and people are more and more indoors. Basically, I mean, I have the impression Norwegian people are very indoors, but I mean, like to spend time indoors. But in winter time, it's even more extreme. The temperature can drop to minus 20 degrees, and you have to have a good reason to come out. But I also think that how people react to that issue there is also that maybe during winter time it's becoming something else also regarding the public space itself, like more like a passive space somehow, or a place to watch rather than actually act and do something, because it's harder to get people there anyway. So there were also offering interventions with ice and snow and light for the winter time, for the dark times. I mean, times when the sun is down very early.
Non-existent.
No, yeah. So I think it's an important issue.
Okay, Eva, what about you? What do you? Yeah, I think that we have to look at the three topics, the three proposals. Have we learned something, Javier?
Yeah, I have been Googling with Google Earth by Hammer, trying to understand and have some questions. Why you are speaking about the lake, but the lake is cut by the train railway, really cut. Can you hear me? Noah?
Yeah. Perdona, sí.
I find Google Earth. Dime. I found that the lake is back to Hammer. That Hammer doesn't approach sufficiently to the lake because of the train railways. And I wanted to know if this is true or not. And how does the cross between the normal way for pedestrians or cars and the railway, how is it solved? Because I find it a problem. And another question is, why are so many parking lots in Hammer? When you look from Google, there are a lot of parking lots. Why? In the project that won the competition, and they change the traffic that now is going by Stortorget Square. How is it going to function, to work when the project is done? Have you thought about that?
The first question was about the lake and how it functions in the city, right? Like because of the train and the road cutting it. So well, that is one of the, let's say, the issue in Hamar. and there are many different ideas of how to solve it. Let's say that Hamar was an industrial city. This is why the train goes around the former factories. You know, there was a Nestle factory and a brewery and also a quarry further up the lake. And today these factories are abandoned, most of them. So we are left with this train line that serves both how do you say it? Sorry, passengers and I forgot
cargo lines.
Yes, cargo lines, and it's still very used, so we cannot just get rid of it. So one of the ideas was to put it on the lake, to transfer it really on the lake, and another idea was to bury it in some places. Other ideas is to make it lifted the whole way, because it is lifted in some places, and some places at the same level as the street. So it is an issue, and regarding that, there's no specific program yet. The latest program was to lift it on the lake, further into the lake. And how it is affecting the life in Hamar now is that, as you're saying, it's kind of, I don't think it's make people not use the lake, but it's more cutting the lake from parts of the city. And regarding Stuttgart, that's really is a strong and important issue, because you have the square, then you have the bazaar building, you have and then you have the train and the pier and the lake. So there's these different layers that you have to go through in order to arrive to the lake. But I think that in another sense, it's the lake is so powerful and so natural, and has some different faces to it, that still people are using it. Regardless of the disconnection with the city. Another thing that is kind of strange coming to Hamar is that there's almost no commercial activity around the lake. I mean, there's only one, or there used to be even another restaurant, but now there's only one restaurant that is really facing the lake, and that's further next to the ruins. And that's it. But if you go like to the city center, the whole business area is really disconnected, and that's a whole issue. And I mean, there's different ideas of how to solve it, but it's very complex. You have to remember also that because of the cold winters, if you ever need to put something underground, it has to really go further down, and there's also inundation problems, because this year actually the lake was flooded, and the water came almost up to the Stuttgart square. So this putting the train underground is probably not very feasible. And then regarding parking lots, well, it's a funny question, because we have taken down what used to be the parking lot on the square, and the first reaction of the people was to complain about the fact that there's no more parking lot in the city center, but there are so many. But you just need to communicate that. And I think it's because people are mainly moving, commuting with cars, and they really very similar to, I don't know, suburban areas in America. You have to be parked closely to where you're going, and well, that's why there are so many parking lots. And I mean, bicycles are used, but not so much, and then buses either. So car would be the main transportation tool. And actually, they are even building a new parking lot pretty close to the square to the west, and it's going to be an underground parking lot. So even though there are a lot of parking lots, there's still not enough. And yeah.
And Noah, please, why are so many boats? Where do persons go with the boats?
I think it's more for leisure. I don't think they are really going anywhere anymore. There used to be boat connection between Jurvik and Hamar, I think, and you know, the oldest steamboat in the world or something is in Hamar. It's this, I'm sorry, I'm really bad with Norwegian names, so I don't remember the name of it, but you can, if you go to Hamar, you can, you can go and have dinner there or lunch, and then move around from Hamar to Lillehammer and Jurvik. But today the boats are mainly used for leisure. There's a lot of speedboats and kayaks, and there's no way, by the way, that's very interesting, there's no way of renting a boat as a tourist. You know, I was there and I wanted to go around with the boat, but unless you know somebody that has a boat, you cannot have, you can't rent one. So I guess it's really for leisure and moving, yeah.
Yeah, this is a very interesting part, because it comes again and again, this idea, this issue with the connections between the different, and then you have added something different with something which I think is very important and probably would be relevant for the city future, which is to develop some activity around the lake, some economic activity focused on visitors, tourists. When I say visitors, I'm talking about not only residents but people living around city. And also tourists, and I think there's a very good window of opportunity for the city to develop these. And
there's an infrastructure. I have to say that there's a promenade all around the lake, which is a promenade that is really great. There's it doesn't exist, you know, if you compare the Hamar to its competitors, which is Jurvik and Lillehammer. Their relation with the lake is even worse, you know, because they are also on the lake, but they are not so close to it, and there's no promenades there. And on Hamar, they have built, I think it's pretty recent, that you can really stroll around the lake and bike around it, and there is the infrastructure, and there's museums around, around it, but not more than that. Like, that's.
So it seems that there's this, with the planning style of the city, seems to be like putting pieces here and there with not a thought connection, or not with thinking in it as a whole.
Yeah, no? Yeah, that's like, I think, the challenge they're facing now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
no, one moment. I have seen that around the lake only there are the train station and Olympic building. I don't know, Olympic or only two important buildings around the lake, no more. The train station and another one near the bridge.
Yeah.
And don't you find that it's strange, because when you have a lake, you have like in Como or in Lake Constanza, you have important buildings facing the lake.
You're saying that the buildings are facing the lake or not? No. Well, I think it depends. There is the ruins that are pretty close to the lake. I mean, they're not put in how do you say, in the scenery of the lake so much. It's true, but they are around it. I mean, there is a way of connecting from one place to another using the lake, but it's not. I guess it was other reason that the reasons they are building these places regarding the Winter Olympics not on the lake, because they're very big. They're very large buildings, like the Viking ship is, you know, very massive. And also, if I'm not mistaken, there are a lot of organizations to protect the natural reserves around the lake. So even now, when there's part next to the train station that are going to be renovated and transformed into housing and other uses, there's part of it that is going to be untouched because of birds and.
Okay.
So I think it's, you know, more complex. There are some other variables that are not have to be taken into account, and that will be an interesting question for the planning department. And I think tomorrow we have Geir, who is our local architect in the Hamar Kommune, and you can also ask him this question.
Reaches where?
When the water.
Read the question.
Yes, Eva is asking, did she say the water arrives to the square when? Well, this year it was the rainiest year since 1946. And as you might know, there is a risk of inundation in Hamar, and there was an actual flood, and the lake actually flooded the whole promenade area and came up until the road that is behind the bazaar building and other places. So roads were blocked. Between Hamar and Lillehammer was stopped because it flooded everything. So that happened this year, and the last time it happened apparently was 1946.
Okay, so we have a more clear picture of what's surrounding the city and how the city is related to the lake, which seems to have even much more potential than we thought. Because just looking at the map or the plan, you see that there's a lot of potential connections, but despite the railways, but obviously there are a lot of amenities and things that can be taken in advance. So just to close this part, is maybe it would be very good to add to our proposals this element of how whatever proposal you do might also affect, if it does, might also affect the articulation of the city with the lake, with the coastline, as a resource, as something that the city needs badly to improve itself, to become more visible in the area. And I think as I was saying before, there's this window of opportunities that the square, the whole process in the square is going to be looked at in other parts of Norway and of Scandinavia, and there's this very good chance of attracting attention and putting Hamar in the map, which is what any city would dream with, to have its own city in the map beyond its sort of immediate territory. Okay, so Christian, how are you doing? Would you like to tell us a little bit about your work? Oh no, man.
No mic.
No mic, Christian. We cannot hear you. No. It looks like it's disconnected. Can you hear that? Can you hear us? Yeah? Well, we cannot hear you. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, Agatha is missing in action.
Okay.
Anyway, so okay, now it sounds. Can you say something? Say hello.
No.
Hello?
Okay, listen, Christian, when you plug your jack into the computer, something sounds, so it might be just a matter of touching that and plugging it again or something, because it makes some noise. So, there you go. We hear you a little bit now.
Ska ställa effektuoso in jack.
No, wait. No.
No, it's not settings. It's the jack.
You think it's the jack? Okay. And wait, if you try it with the computer itself, with the computers.
But he had no sound.
No sound.
Can you hear me now? Or?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
It's like if you were here with us, you know.
It's okay. Now it's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, some technical problems. Yeah, I can start with commenting on Eva was asking for some other buildings or attractions around the lake. Can you hear me? Okay. I just want to put up 2 links. It's quite like regional attractors. You have this old called the Domkirke Odden. It's a old religious site, and also one other place called Storhammarloven, which is both like working as important attractors to make people visit the lake. If you see this link I sent to you.
These are the, by the way, the first image that you have shown, the ruins, the Domkirken, was just chosen to be one of the most beautiful museums in the world, or something like that. It is well, I don't know by whom, but I mean it is a very beautiful building, because it's ruins of a church from the, I think, 12th century, and they have decided, instead of rebuilding the church, to cover it with like a glass bell, and it's a place where ceremonies are still taking place, and it feels very much like an outdoor-indoor space. It's really successful and beautiful. The vegetation is around the ruins and covered by this glass structure.
Mm-hmm. When discussing like attractions and how to develop the line along the lake, I think this is quite interesting, because it's very strong attractors, and people are coming there from different other towns to visit this specific place, and people also go there without maybe visiting the center of Hamar. So it's like it's a stronger attractor than actually the city itself. Yeah, but yeah, as I've been concerning and interested in my blog posts, the texts I've been publishing. My focus has been very much related to participation, and in a maybe I think a bit academic or theoretical approach. So I think in that sense I'm also interested in like the experiences that NOA has, like the people coming to the on-site workshops. Normally, when it's organized process of participation, it's said that sometimes it's often that the people that are coming are the same that like already are active or engaged in different other types of forum or organizations. Is it like the people coming, are they some like having their kind of debut, or they're fresh starters in this kind of settings, or is it like people that already are active in earlier or similar types of processes in Hamar?
Well, it's an interesting question, because you know, the strategy that we are using to get participation is we're trying to be very diverse. I will give the example of the last week of workshops. We have a community activator working with us for each week of workshop, and the community activator is usually a person who is from Hamar, and who is not a public figure, but some people usually know this person, and one of his goals is to get participation. I mean, it's one of the things we are expected from this person, to bring people to the workshops. And so that's one of the strategy of getting participation. Another one we have used is putting an ad in the newspaper of actually, you know, saying the workshops and the lecture this week and this time. And another strategy is connecting to this local important nodes in the community of leaders of different associations and politicians and things like that. And also making these meetings, going to the universities, to other courses to speak about the project and, communicating as much as we can. I guess that's about it. So, and using the local agendas, putting again like this notification of workshop here, workshop there. So what we had, the result we had this past week was, I think, pretty interesting, because we have had people from different places and different ages, and also not necessarily politicians or active persons in the community. And I think it's also, we have to remember that we have had this opening event, the 17th of September, that one of the goals of this event was also to, to make people wonder what is this project, and to already register for participation. So we have this mailing list of 60 people that have registered during this opening event. So that's another strategy. And during these workshops, we have people that came from this opening event, people that we have met, people that are connected to the community activator, people that are politicians, really diverse. Like we had somebody who was playing organ in the church, a foreigner, two foreigners been working in Hamar only for a few months, a politician, a teacher. I mean, all sorts of people, and I think that was an interesting mix and potentially a good development for the project. And of course, not easy, because it's always easier to get people to talk about something when they already know each other. So we have this first, I think, challenge, and after we get already this mix of people to make some kind of activity as a first step to introduce each other and to feel comfortable with each other, and not, because when you're actively participating in a workshop, you have to be comfortable to talk about your idea and talk with the other person, of course, and listen and all of that. So yeah, I think. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds very fantastic. So yeah. Okay. It sounds like a broad and solid as simple enough. So.
Yeah, Javier is mentioning in the blog in the chat that he's making some comments on the quality of the building by Sven Harre. And this idea of which I don't know, that doesn't seem to be in the map of the authorities to put. Is it like to put Hamar in the map and to bring people from other parts of Norway to Hamar? Have you talked about these?
Yes, of course, but there is like an architecture kind of flyer and things like that. And
but it's like not just for the building. It's like you think that they have a strategy of like really, is this really a target, or is this okay, it might happen, but because we have this building here or this other thing. Do you think they have a forward strategy to make?
I think the whole city development is thought in a way to attract as many people as possible for different reasons. And well, I think Hamar has I think one of the biggest advantages, of course, apart from the beautiful nature and the city size and all the elements that we know, is also we know that it's very close to the airport. It's only 1 hour from Gardermoen, and I mean that's a natural attractor already for people to move to Hamar. I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges Hamar community is facing today is how to bring the young couples, the young professionals to the city, because 30-something young couples, what do you do? Why would you move to Hamar? And it's a question we even asked the mayor. What is the Hamar community doing as like economically? If you want to start a business, a company, do you get any help?
I remember the question. It's not so much bringing people from abroad, like tourists or visitors from other parts of Norway, but it's rather to bring high added value residents, smart, creative community. I mean, all these concepts like the smart city, creative community, which sometimes are, I have to say, quite hollow concept, but somehow they are in the list, and they're important because they not only bring attract investment or attract jobs, but also attract young population with kids or with the chance of having kids, and sort of growing and keep on surviving as a population, which is a very basic primitive necessity of any community to strive to survive in numbers.
Yeah, and I mean the ideal iconic building thing, I guess, is if this is the one of the questions.
Sorry? Yeah. We're going to Agatha, are you there? Agatha?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We don't see you. We see a black thing, but we believe you're
here.
Yeah,
because I not try to play a video.
So what would be the development of your project, and can you just comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, as I post on a blog, I was looking on a hammer all over the city through Google Street Views, and I was thinking about the Stottergate as a special place, but as a place which is linked in different layers with the surroundings, with different and not only material buildings like architecture, but the activities, and that it will be not a square which will be only designed in a hammer, but it will be the point where some kind of network could meet there, and network of activities of that it will be a part of a city and a point of improvement in a city. That now said that it's the hammer needs something to attract the young people. I think that it not should be Stottergate as a one designed place in a city, but it could be some aspect that could network could be developed on this this from this point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're looking. Sorry, we are listening to you, but we're looking at your work in the other computer, right? So
okay.
Bored by you, and it is a terrific work actually, and as Javier would say, it probably looks very architectural, but I'm sure it has a lot of I'm sure not. It is certainly very close to what we're talking about, which is this social and people's approach. And to some extent, I think you have put together a lot of the ideas we have been talking about these days around this idea of the square as a conglomerate, a meeting point, and as articulation of all these different uses.
And I think it's also, I just want to relate to the conversation we had earlier today about how, Dream Hammer, it's not about redesigning the square, it's about different projects that are, different parts of Hammer, because you cannot only think about what will make the square vivid by thinking only about the approximate environment, but of course about other activities that are developed in the city, that are developed and will be developed. And I think the biggest, the one that will attract most of the people is the culture house, and that's as we said earlier, like the indoor public space, while the Stottergate is the outdoor public space, and it's very much mixed public space. I think it's an interesting challenge, to talk about the culture house, because it's going to have the music associations, the theater, the library, and the cinema, and this all reflects in the square. And this is going to be, if you talk with the Hamar Kommune, they're very much looking forward from this maybe culture house to be some kind of iconic building and attractor of people both locally and nationally. So if you want to connect the different questions that we had here, it can somehow converge in this relation between the indoor and the outdoor public space that are going to be finished at the same time. So that's an important issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the outcomes of this experience, of this workshop, and of others, of the ones we're going to do on the spot, is that the need to really articulate these different words. So we have finished our first round now. Would you like to say something, to add something to these? Any of you want to add something? Or some questions for Noah, maybe?
I just want to react.
Oh, yeah,
someone was Javier, I think, was talking about.
Yes,
Agatha is.
Okay. Javier was, I think, said something about the launch that we had on SotoCat, and I wanted to mention that that's also a participation strategy. The idea is to make this kind of occupying the public space and this kind of interventions that are outside, visible, inviting, and to use that also to communicate the coming workshops. That's what we did with the opening event, and that's what we're going to do this coming week with this kind of the guerrilla gardening intervention on the square.
Oh yeah, all right.
To inform the coming Environment Week workshops. So that's another strategy for participation.
And can I say something about that? Sorry?
No, sure.
Yeah, because I think it's one of the few things, when we talk in staff in the architecture schools, you always say that the students are very free, generally schools are kind of very open mind, you can propose almost anything, but I think this is a good example of something that is way more easy. I wouldn't say easy, but it's something that it works, you made it, you can propose and make it in real life, and on the other hand it's very hard for a student to actually work in that kind of with this kind of strategies, because I think in the architecture schools right now we don't have tools for address this kind of participation tools, like how the students could express that in a school project, how they can communicate in a CREAT, in the normal review process, how we can test that using the standard school studio environment. It's very hard to represent that using drawings, the standard tools that you use in school. And on the other hand, when you do it in real life, I think it's extremely interesting, because you actually are testing these things in a very clear and
even seeing the students, the 25 Bergen students that were organizing this launch event, I can say that it's clearly, as you describe it, is by action that they really learn the whole thing. I think that from the beginning until the end, that they were processing the ideas and then getting into the action. Contacting the local farmers, bringing the food, making the communication themselves, meeting with people, taking pictures, taking videos, the whole thing. And of course, also if you talk to, I think each of the students will have a different experience of the same event. But it was a really interesting work to watch, and I think the real way of learning anything about this participation. Listening to you makes me think what if your students would do the same thing in Limerick, and when then there can be some kind of a dialogue with that. I don't know, I think sending them to action is the biggest challenge and the best way of learning And the way we are looking at it is also like, you know, something that we can communicate to the municipality, because why wouldn't the municipality of Hamar do this kind of lunch every season, you know? So that's it's interesting. It's not so expensive. It's easy to organize, and people like it, you know, and bring people together. So
I completely agree. I just found that sometimes it's hard to translate that into the more academic side of the school, and I think our students miss of you know, they're not too convinced about those things, because basically they are not addressed in the normal academic environment. But I think it's very interesting. I will check the work that the other student did on the lunch. I think I saw a post, but I didn't went through the whole thing.
No.
Okay, we were looking at the we were looking at the other, because we have two chats at the time. So
okay.
We are so multimedia that we're holding a conversation with you, and then we have this chat, and we have a chat with people which are say out. I don't know why we have two chats. Actually, I cannot explain it technically, but it's really cool. So there's this debate going on the which is again what Javier was mentioning before, is how architects should use non-traditional, non-architectural tools or different tools, and sort of learn more from other disciplines. That's what's where someone shining the Nomad, which is a Mexican architect based in Switzerland, is mentioning, and with a lot of preaching for these workshops and for your participation here. Okay, so summing up, we have been going a bit again through our different projects. We have sort of deepened a little bit with the very useful presence of Noah here with us, answering questions and checking out, you know, contrasting with all of us. I think the next steps tonight, I have an interview with one of the municipal architects, the one Gear, which is helping, and it's a counterpart in the municipality.
And you'll be there tomorrow, right? So
and he would be there tomorrow.
Yeah,
but you mean here?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
fine. So
Yeah.
anyway, so we can just think about different questions. I'm going to try to concentrate a bit on these topics we mentioned the other day, which I think are really important. And if you have read my latest post, which was very sort of conceptual about participation, would be in relation to that, to the ways participation deals with planning, the importance of time in participation, and how this sometimes it's a natural process and it's good, but other times, most of the times, it's an inconvenient because it's expensive. It sort of challenges the electoral political times, which is something very important to have in account. We have been so far talking, and this isn't something that Noah we're about to start discussing, like other things that we put on the table, and we would do it at some point, which is, okay, this is all top-down participative initiatives, participative tools, all these gathering people together with food to exchange, basically to interact, to meet, to mingle, and to feel comfortable and relaxed, as to sort of relax them to get ready for the real process of participation. All this we're doing here, it's a top-down participation. We have some time constraints, of course, but from my experience, I would say that this is probably one of the most open process of participation I've been working in, which is, okay, it's not a lot of time. I think time is a bit short, but still it seems to be very, very open to all actors. It seems to have not a strong control over the professionals which are working on it, over the topics that are being tackled, probably over the outcomes neither. So I think it is a good example of how a participation process on a specific urban intervention might be. Probably it would be improvable, like everything in life, because as I was saying the first day, participation is like love, like democracy, like all these other things, which is that it's never perfect, and you cannot really reach a maximum. It's always improvable. But for what I know, this looks very well, and it's very interesting. So tomorrow we would be going again through participation more in a in a conceptual way. I would develop some of the concepts that I have mentioned already in the post, and some others, so we can have a picture of what participation looks like and what it is for, and what the actors, etc. And if our Norwegian colleague is around, that would be even better, because I would invite you to ask him all these questions that you might be dealing with, and I think it would be a good chance to know from a first. Sylvia liked the idea of the participation is like love. It is definitely. You never reach complete perfect love. You never reach perfect participation or perfect democracy. So I think it's a good metaphor, because we're always looking for the perfect love relationship. We should try to look for the perfect participatory process, and improve on it, and work on it, and think in it like something which is continually growing and improving and being built on. Okay, so I would ask you to look about all these more institutional variables that you might be curious about, to ask a guide about the planning process, or the actors. I'm going to ask him today about my own stuff, and I would post something telling mentioning the results. I'm going to ask him about immigration, although Noah has given me very nice insights about immigrant population, about the process of planning too, especially in relation to participation. These are some variables that we're still filling up, and hopefully along these next few days we would have a more thorough view about that, because it is very important for architects to use their own tools. It is very important, we have agreed with Javier, that it's very important to use also non-architectural tools, and that's probably what I'm here, with all my blah blah. But also it's very important to consider very closely institutional variables. Okay, what are the rules of the game? What is the framework for participation? What are the actors? Especially that in Norway in particular, I think there is a very transparent culture, and usually everything is being shared with the public naturally. So I think it's even. As someone coming from abroad and working there, it seems that the biggest challenge that the municipality of Hamar is facing today is the communication between the community and the municipality. It usually goes through complaints through the newspaper. This is not working. Now the idea. What we're facing is taking these complaints, these critics, and make it more into action, and that's something very interesting that is going on in Hamar right now. Okay, so just to close, sorry, I was again looking at your contributions, and I think it's very interesting what Christine is just mentioning about how performance is part of the curriculum in Bergen, in the School of Architecture. So I think that's something very relevant for us. And also, Madam or Urska mentioning this idea of about immigrants. We know that Noah has given me some more information about that. So I think it would be very interesting to address or to think about the challenge of bringing those who are in the city. We have talked about bringing to the square and users and actors to the square, which would be the residents, who would be the immediate environment residents, so kind of the metropolitan area of the city, We have been talking about people from Oslo or other parts of the country. We have talked about even tourists from abroad. And somehow we haven't think so much about immigrants, which seem to sum up about 1-2% of the population, and that would be that they will be really very close to the square, because the language school is going to be.
That's I think it's even more. I mean, the language school is 1%, but I think the immigrants in Hamar are very diverse and powerful, and it's very exciting to meet them, because this language school, for instance, has 300 students from all over the world that are coming to Hamar to learn Norwegian and to eventually be part of the city. So I think that's a great opportunity for Hamar, and we have managed to bring some of them to the workshops actually last week. And I mean, to answer this question, how to engage people to each and every person to the workshop, I think that eventually the people are coming to the workshop for their own personal reasons. You know, some of them to talk, some of them to listen, some of them to meet other people, some of them to eat a free dinner. You know, I mean, I think there's so many ways of attracting of people, and the interesting is, and the challenge again is to work with them together. And for the immigrants, I guess, as an immigrant myself here or wherever, I think the best chance in going to the workshop is meeting other people, the locals actually, which is interesting, and getting to know the city better through that encounters. So
I think that this would be a good challenge, especially probably for all of you. I'm thinking now in Eva with this idea of articulating the different parts of the city, and probably we could elevate that as a metaphor of the different parts of the society of the city, the residents and the people living in the city. The same for Susanna with her idea of articulating virtual and real worlds together in terms of around the square, and giving place to those people that don't have so much voice. And we were thinking around last week about aged people, and of course foreigners that don't maybe not fluent, or they don't have a solid network or whatever. Okay, so we're going to leave it here, and tomorrow we will be. Please have a look to the post, because I would elaborate a bit on that and sort of enlarge it with a presentation, and hope to see you or read you through the post, through the chat. And please keep on sending so interesting posts and contributing, because we're really very, very, very happy here with all your contributions, and I'm very grateful. Okay, so I'm going to give the word to Francesco, which is the soul of this course actually, although we don't see him very much.
Just three technical. I would say three things. I'm very happy because I see that we have the open chat in live stream very active today. So I remind you that people can follow and participate to the workshop also if they are not registered like you. And thanks to the Nomad and Silvia that is also in Tactical Urbanism online workshop to participate and staying with us today. Second thing is about your submission of your proposal at the end of the workshop. Next week will be the last week of the workshop, so it was quite short. But after that, so it will be the last chance to work together, and after that you will have a week to send and publish your proposal. We will ask you a post for that at the beginning of November and a PDF format, but I will send you details by email. And the last thing is, I think I have already talked, I'm not sure if in this workshop or maybe it was in Tactical Urbanism, that we are maybe planning a workshop in Hamar for online participants. It's not sure, we are trying to manage that with Noah. Okay, it's true. She's confirming, but it's not sure. But we would like to know if any of you would be interested to go to Amar in November, I guess. Yeah. Yes. Okay. We will share with you details about condition. I don't have them, so it's like we are trying to think about it. So I don't know. Just keep it in mind if you are interested. Okay. I'm sorry for Agatha and Rosanna, who has technical problems today more than previous weeks. Javier sounds interesting. Okay. So see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the Digital Lab. And thank you very much to Noah for staying with us.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.